Hello, today I'd like to talk briefly about site modeling in Revit, uh, particularly focus on where the site model comes from and how you can start from scratch. In this studio, we already give you the site model, which include the terrain as well as the buildings. You can use it as a start point, but you might wondering where this model come from. If in the future you create your own model from scratch, where I can find the data to download, how I can get the reference of my site, and how I can assemble something similar like this. I'm not going to cover every single detail because there's many different ways you can do it. I will just show you briefly about the roadmap to do this type of thing by yourself from scratch. By the way, you don't have to do this for this project. So let's start from, there's three parts of this tutorial. The first part is about Topo Surface, is how the terrain can be collected, pushed into Revit. The second part is about the whole site, buildings, roads, everything. And the third part is for some diagrammatic purpose. If you have to use Photoshop, for example, to do some diagram, how you can bring the 3D model in, and what's the best way you can show the material, show the textures. All right, so let's start with the first one, where the topo surface comes from. So first thing to, just to make sure you understand, the topo surface here in Revit, if you check the bar on the top, here is a mapping on the site. You can basically generate topo surface from other program. Of course, you are not gonna to build point by point in Revit directly. It's always come from other external resource, right? So here you can click Topo Surface, and then you can bring into as a DWG or DXF format. So this is the process. I have a tutorial actually covered this entire process. So here I can show you where you can find it. If you go to my learning path, if you go to Revit, you can see here is the site design with Revit. I covered the whole process. You can get, for example, the topo surface in other program like Rhino or GIS. Then you bring in, you create contour lines. Then you bring the contour line into Revit, generate a topo surface. So that's basically covered already in this tutorial. However, I do want to show you just kind of quick refresh how to do this from other program. If you don't have, for example, GIS data, which has all the contour information for terrain, how you can do that through another program. This is called Infraworks. It's a really powerful program. You can collect a lot of information about the ground. So first, I will show you, I have, this is a CGC computer. This computer, we have this program called Infraworks. You can just type Infraworks. If you can't find it, you can also go to applications. It should under Autodesk, and here is Infraworks right here. All right. Again, I have a bunch of other tutorials related to Infraworks if you want to dig into this program. In general, this program allow you, by the way, if this is the first time you log in, you probably have to activate your license. Later I will put a tutorial there. Actually, it's already here, how to activate a license in Infraworks, just in case if you have that issue as a first-time user. So here's Infraworks, then you can know how to activate the license. But anyway, you don't have to do this in this studio. I just want to show you the whole background process. All right, then I'm going to create a model builder. Then I can follow the tutorial to select a region. Then I can go ahead to crop a map, and then I can define the place I like to download. Okay, so you can define an area, and then you can basically click create model, give a name, create model. So that's the whole process. You can download the model. I already did this before, so I don't have to redo. So you can see here the studio site model has been downloaded, and you can see the file is actually saved in the local file by default. Autodesk Infraworks, Autodesk 360, and here are the files. For the convenience of this demonstration later, I will just give you the file. The file I will give you is under the folder IFW, so that's the SQLite file. You can directly open, you don't have to re-download. And here, let me just go ahead, open the file. You can get a sense what that SQLite file looks like. So here, TM, and I go to the IFW. I'm opening the file. Okay, and this file is come from the Autodesk database, include the Bing map, include the GIS, topography, building footprint, road, drainage, forest, a lot of information here. So as a first glance, you can see here's the UC campus, and here's our site. I think it's right cut through here, right? So this is the L shape of the site. You have all the buildings. I do want to mention this building is not necessarily be accurate for the facade. The height might be close, but the facade definitely is not exactly match with the reality. All right, the road sometimes needs some configuration, but that's another topic I'm not gonna cover today. So my goal, back to my diagram, is trying to transfer this Infraworks into Revit, right? So I can use the Infraworks terrain to build my Revit Topo Surface. So that's the whole process. This process is, you have to go through this through Rhino to generate the contour lines. So that's the in-between program you have to do. So here, back to my CGC computer, I'm going to utility, I'm going to export 3D model. I will do the entire model, and I will do not the single file. I actually only want to do the ground, right? Because I don't really care about the building. Why want to do the topo surface in Revit? So ground should be fine. So the name is here. You can set a location. Maybe we can just set a location to here. Let's call this called FW ground FBX, right? I don't care about the building, disable that. Yeah, that's it. So you export. Done, right? So it's really straightforward. You got the terrain. Then let's take a quick look what's inside that file. So here you have the ground, you have the position, you have the log. Log is come from the Infraworks. So in the ground, if I double click, this is the 3D viewer. You are able to see the ground. Okay. The UV mapping is wrong because this is another issue later I will address, but the geometry should be correct. It's pretty much reflect the slope, everything in 3D. Okay. Yeah, so this is how, by the way, you can switch to the engineering view. You can see this model definitely is a 3D model, has all the contour lines information there. The next thing is I'm going to run the Rhino program. In the Rhino program, let me start with a new file. I will give this file the default unit. Now this is kind of tricky. In Infraworks, default unit is actually meters, but in Revit later we are using inch, right? But let's start with meter first. We can use import. We're gonna bring in the ground file, and then I will see all of them. So you can see it's a 3D file. Then I will do the contour. Right, contour is a command. You can actually create contour lines. Right, pick up this. Actually, I want to pick up all geometry. Enter. Then I will pick a point, holding Shift. Make sure it's vertical. Right, the in between. I would say the incremental is about 1 unit. In this case, it's 1 meter. Hit enter, you have these contour lines. So that's pretty much how you did do the contour lines. The reason I want to do the contour line is, okay, let me actually, I want to select all the mesh and get rid of them. Edit, select, and all the mesh. Yeah, I will delete, right? Because I don't really need them anymore. Only thing I care is about these contour lines. Okay, so let me join them. Join means if there's two curves, end point and end start point is in the same location, they will be merged. Okay, so I will save the file again. I will save the file as ground. I think this is the one I used before. Right, and I'm going to transfer this into Revit. Okay, there are a couple of ways you can do it. I think I will just export selected into a DWG, and I will give this guy a name. Let's make sure everything from Infraworks stay in Infraworks. Maybe I will go to the Rhino folder because this is come from Rhino. I gave this name contour. Save it. Okay. Then in Revit, right? I'm not gonna redo here because we already have a contour. So I will start with a new file. Just give you a quick demo since we don't have to redo this. So if you have, for example, a new template, right? It's blank, nothing here. Yeah, just make sure we are clean. There's no existing building, right? So here, if I want to create a contour lines into this program, so in the 3D view, just make sure we are, oh, it has something there already. That's strange. So this is not a fresh new file. So sorry, let me just recreate a new one. Template. I don't want to use any template. Okay, that's strange. Why has this? Let me close my Revit. I will reopen my Revit. Just make sure I want to have a clean start. I don't want to accidentally do double topo in the same location. Right? So Revit 2021, that's the version we are using. Okay, take some time to open. I will create a brand new file. Okay, so not accidentally use the existing project as your start template. All right, so it's there. Okay, yeah, it is clean. Okay, so just want to do a quick demo, so it doesn't matter if we have anything missing. So here in the masking side, I will go to Topo Surface, and I will pick a surface from input, right? But before that, you have to input file first. So let's cancel that, insert. So there's a lot of files you can put in. I will bring in a CAD file, which is DWG, DXF, and I will point to the file I just generated. So I put them in my TM folder, arc. I believe that's come from Rhino, right? So here's contour DWG. Click open. So seed file is right there, here. So the location is not necessarily in a 0, 0, which is okay. You can always move. So if you switch to, for example, the top view, if you want to move this, I think I just drag and drop, but it's pinned, so you have to unpin first, then you can drag and drop, right? So this is how you can change change the location. You can also maybe change the elevation as well, make sure it's not kind of flying in the air. So this is basically, manipulation stuff in Revit. Okay, so I have the 3D view, and next thing I want to do is to actually create a topo surface. So we have the CAD file, we go to meshing, we go to Topo Surface, then you want to create from the import, right? So select this guy. It has 2 layers, it actually doesn't matter. This comes from Rhino. Rhino has 2, 0 and default layer. But if you just click OK, it should pick up all the geometries come from that layer and automatically generate the contour lines, all the Topo Surface. Click OK, then you have this really nice, clean Topo Surface, right? So this is the whole process how you can start your own topo. If you don't have anything given to you, you can start from scratch. All right. So this is the first portion of this tutorial. Covered this Infraworks to Rhino to Revit, create a Topo Surface. Of course, you can use GIS to do that as well, which is covered in other tutorials. I can link them to you later. So I want to talk about the second topic really quick, is the building and the roads, right? So as you can see, the building, we already gave you some reference buildings. You might be wondering where this building comes from. Again, there could come from the GIS. If you have the building footprint, you can extrude Revit, from 2D to 3D as a meshing. Also, you can download from CAD Mapper. This is a pretty popular program, online, free. You can download the file. I think the file is a DXF. Yeah, you can definitely put it into Revit directly. So this is a nice, free online database. Also, you can use Infraworks as well. So today, since we are already using Infraworks to do the terrain, I'd like to show you really quick. You can actually bring the building in as well. But keep in mind, this building, again, is not really necessarily accurate. So here, if you go to Utility, Export 3D Model, and this time, instead of doing the, just the ground, I will do a single file just for the sake of demo. Entire file as a single FBX. Okay, so export, and it's actually exported pretty quick, and then I can see the file right here. This is called IM export, 13 megabits. Right? So if I double click, you'll see in the 3D viewer, I have this whole model in 3D. Building, terrain, roads, everything. Right? But I do see there's something wrong here. For example, the mapping, this tower is supposed to be here. It is some issues later I will address. But you got this FBX file come out directly from Infraworks. Okay, so here, back to my diagram, the couple of things you can do. If you want to bring this into Revit, you can transfer to Navisworks, which can transfer to Revit later, or you can transfer to other programs like Max or Rhino directly through FBX. Oh, here I just corrected the diagram a little bit. So from Infraworks, you could also transfer to Rhino with FBX. The Rhino can export as DXF, DWG into Revit. Or you can do this through Navisworks using the NWK. This is the default format for Navisworks. And then that can be brought into Revit. Okay, so I will show you both. Again, this is already in our model. You don't really have to do this for this project. So first, I will go ahead, open my Revit. I will just probably just using this current file. So the way you can bring in the file is, I will go ahead, try the first process is using the Navisworks to take the Infraworks FBX, then transfer to Revit. Okay, so let's go here. I will go ahead and run the Navisworks. So that is in my applications. You can see in the CGC computer we have a lot of programs installed. So there is one called Autodesk let's see, Navisworks. Okay, you can open the Navisworks Manager 2021 BIM 360. This is actually the already full licensed program. Okay. This is more like an engineer and civil engineering tool. All right, so United States for sure, and then we're gonna simply go to Home, Append. I'm going to append the local file. My local file, I think I already saved in ARC for 3. I think that's the export from Infraworks, right? So that is the, if you choose the file format as all, you should be able to pick up the whole site, which is this one, export. So that's basically bring the whole Infraworks file into Navisworks. So here it is. If I switch to 3D view, you can see it's include everything. Okay. Then I'm going to export this. I will actually just simply save the file. Okay. So I will save the file. I think I already saved the file. Did I? In the Navisworks, I have this folder called Navis. Yeah, I'll just save over this one. Okay. So that's basically save. I already did, so I don't have to redo. So I saved the file as a Navisworks. Then in Revit, you can go ahead, insert, right? And here you have the coordination model, which is the name for the Navisworks. Then you can add, you can basically point to the file you like to add. So which is right here, open. So basically this is gonna inherit all the features from that file, and then click OK. You might be wondering why we do this through the Navisworks, because by default the Revit model coordination does not really be able to communicate to Infraworks. So you have to go through the Navisworks to allow this bridge be established. Right? So here in the insert, you can see that you can always go here. If you don't need this anymore, you can remove. In fact, I think the Revit file I gave you for the older version do not have this link, so you can actually not worry about this. Just let you know, this is one way you can bring a really large urban site model into your Revit. And of course, you have to adjust the location, right? So sometimes the model come in with a wrong coordination system, then you have to move it around. So this is nothing different from a typical geometries you can, relocate based on your needs. Okay. Yeah. So this is about how to bring Navisworks in. But here's the issue: the Navisworks doesn't really carry in any textures. So this is more like gray color wireframe. So that's the limitation for this process right now. It also doesn't really support in the hidden line. So it's more like provide as a visual background, right? Nothing else. All right. So that's about Navisworks in Revit. Other ways I can show you is through the Rhino. So you can bring the FBX into Rhino, then you export into Revit as a DXF or DWG. So let's do that really quick. First, I'm just gonna simply remove the connection. Yeah, I don't need to this show up. Then I will go to Rhino. First thing I will just create a new file. I will still using meter because that's the unit come from Infraworks. Then I will import the whole model into Rhino. Rhino program. Too many programs we are using. Does it show up? No, that's strange. Let's do one more time. Import. Yes. Okay, so it showed up. Then let's see. This is one actually carried in all the textures into Rhino. But I know this is a whole new program. Probably you don't want to overwhelmed with too many new stuff for the first tutorial, but this is basically a 3D modeling program. You can do a lot of cool stuff. You can do grasshopper, parametric design. But what I need to do now is simply just using Rhino as a way to transfer file. Right. So here I will select everything, I will simply export as a DXF or DWG, doesn't matter. I will give this file, let's see, site. Okay. Right. And then here in Revit, I will just go ahead, import CAD, and then you can have the Rhino file called site into Revit. Right. So this is how you bring another type of geometry into your design. And this one, if you switch to the hidden line, it actually works. Right? You can see it's coming as a mesh. So that's the reason you have to see the triangles, but actually they are the full editable geometry. You can switch to hidden line. So that's a little bit different from the Navisworks. Okay, can move that around. Oh, I think it's locked. So you have to unpin the geometry. Can't see where is the pin. Oh, it's right here. So click, you can unpin. After you unpin the file, then you can move that around. Okay, so this is another way you bring in the DWG or DXF into the whole pipeline, into Revit. Okay. All right, so the last one, not the least, I want to talk really quick how to using the 3D model in Photoshop. If you want to do some diagram, you probably don't want to, have to model everything in Revit or draw the lines in Revit, right? So some program like Illustrator or Photoshop would be the best way to generate some diagrams. You can definitely always do screenshot or rendering in Revit and then bring into Photoshop. You can also bring the Infraworks file as a FBX or OBJ, then you can open them directly in Photoshop. You can screenshot with 3D viewers, bring them into Photoshop. So I will talk really quick and also explain a little bit about this UV mapping issues I showed you earlier. If you recall, the model we actually is in I have two computers open, so it's in a CGC computer. So if you recall, the texture mapping looks okay here in Navisworks or Infraworks. However, if you look at this in Rhino, the UV mapping is wrong, right? This texture is kind of flipped. This is kind of a little bit complicated. Again, I don't want to drag you into another whole new tutorial. I just briefly show you the reason why. If I bring this file directly into 3ds Max, which is another program, by default, let me just start from the new file so you can get a sense. So here, if I bring that FBX file from TM, right, from Infraworks. So this is the whole site. Okay, so you see the model looks okay, right? But if I check really quick, this is just for the demo. You don't have to worry to do this. So if I pick the material of the ground, you see this material has a mapping M, and this mapping UV value, the tile is a -1. This is actually illegal in some of the program. It doesn't really recognize anything negative smaller than below 0. That's the reason it looks okay in Navisworks or Infraworks or in 3ds Max. However, if you double click open the same file in some basic program like Rhino or 3D viewer, the texture looks wrong. Right? So if I go to here, go to the Infraworks model, if I double click right here, right, this is open in the 3D viewer, really basic program. This program doesn't understand what is the -1 means for UV mapping. So there's some issues. You can easily fix this by actually find this original image, which is under the folder IM FBM. So this is that image You can actually use Photoshop to flip the vertical, so this will go down. The horizontal you can keep at the same, just flip the vertical. Once you flip the vertical, then here in 3ds Max, you can relink the new version to the flipped version, and then you change this value to +1. That will fix the problem, right? But anyway, you don't have to worry right now for this. So here I will just simply do the one. Right, see it's the flip right now, because temporarily. Then I will relink to the new version. I think I have this new version flipped ahead of time. I just need to make sure I copy the file. Let's do that. I think I have this flipped version here. Oh, maybe not. Oh, this is the flipped version, right? You see the difference. So I will copy them. I give this everything to you, so you can have a record. I will put this file maybe right here under the root. Then I'm going to relink the 3ds Max file to this. Right? Once you relink, you see this being corrected, and also this tile is 1:1. Right? So this is basically the whole process. Let me save this file. I'll give this file to you as well, so you have everything. I'm not sure if I should just simply save the file tm. Yeah, I will create a new folder called Max. I will give this name as site. Okay, so we have this file, and then I will export this as a FBX, right? So I actually already did this before. In the FBX folder, this version of FBX is the corrected version. So if I double click, you can see the UV mapping should be correct. Let's take a look. Yeah, so this one is correct. Okay, so feel free, if you don't want to mess up with the original model, you can just double click this FBX. You can do screenshot. You can transfer this into Photoshop by capture image. You can do a lot of things. Okay, so this is FBX file. What else I should give you? In the Rhino file, I know not everybody familiar with Rhino. You can also using my site model. Let me double click, make sure this is the correct version. Right, see, this is the correct version because I already reinsert the FBX. Right. So if you want to using this Rhino model, feel free to do so. You can also do is just simply export this into OBJ. Then you can play with other programs like SketchUp or even Photoshop. I'll show you really quick. Here in the Rhino file, I will just export this as OBJ. Let's see, where is it? Here we go. So I call this as a Rhino site. Right, this is made by OBJ file. Okay. Yeah, so if you use Photoshop, it's actually pretty interesting. Photoshop allow you to bring 3D model into the 3D layer. So if you never tried this, it's a pretty fun stuff. You can point to, for example, OBJ file. So here in my Rhino, I will point to that OBJ. Well, it captured actually all the textures, which is fun. Yeah, so there's a Rhino site OBJ. And then I click OK. I should probably using the inches because that is the unit in Rhino, I believe, as well as Revit. So I have this file there. You see is come in, but sometimes the texture mapping could mess up, depends on the settings in Rhino, but you can use that as a start point. You can play with layers, you can turn on, turn off, you can create new layers. So there's a lot of interesting thing you can do with Photoshop. The nice thing about this is you can easily draw things directly here. All right, so this is kind of like a drawing board, and you can draw things, for example, like a straight line. Again, I'm not gonna cover Photoshop here in an extensive way, but there's a bunch of tools here available. You can change color, you can draw stuff. Okay, and also you can always go back to the 3D layer. You can change the view, change the angle. Once you go back, you can see that will be captured. Right? Okay, I think this is a pretty long tutorial overall. It covered a lot of stuff, range from the site terrain to building to the diagram, how to use different program, CAD mapper. You're not necessarily need to know every single detail. Just let you know before I give all the package to you. In a studio project, I'd like you to know where this file come from, right? So in this case, we'll get all the files from my folder. This will be a lot of different file format, so you will know the resource if you want to generate by yourself in the future. All right, that's it.